It's Levack and Goz on 104.5 The Team.
When we talk Knicks, there's one man who makes sense, is real with us, and sometimes shares optimism. And now that my optimism is dead, can Alan Hahn share some of his? Is there any left? Alan Hahn, thank you for joining us, 98.7 ESPN. Is there any hope in Knicksville?
Well, I mean, what do you mean by hope? Is there hope for this season? That hope was gone probably a week or two, or during that West Coast trip. When you say hope, be a little more specific because, like I said, the season before the injury last night, the Porzingis, which is terrible, to me was already headed towards, all right, look for a draft pick and trade off your veterans.
I guess for me it was I still hadn't let go until Porzingis hit the floor. So, for me...
Really?
Yeah, I never said I was smart. I'm a fan.
It's funny because you say I sometimes bring optimism, and it's like you're way ahead of me on the optimism scale. I was already looking like, all right, let me start watching some college hoops and see what's out there. Colin Sexton from Alabama, Trae Young from Oklahoma. What are we looking at here? You were still hanging on. I give you credit because I let go with a rope about 2 weeks ago.
Well, maybe it's because the way Hornacek coaches, where it's like, I'm not going to give Ntilikina more minutes. I'm not going to do this. He was trying to win games. There's not even he can try to win games now, right?
Yeah. Well, from a coaching standpoint, you're always looking to just win the next game, and you can't think about that stuff. That's front office worries about next year. Coach worries about next game. Me and a lot of the fan base, aren't understanding that if this is a rebuild year, which they all talk about, why younger players weren't playing, why is 34-year-old Jarrett Jack still running the team, still being the point guard when you have Ntilikina and 25-year-old Trey Burke, who, let him get acclimated. Let's see what Trey Burke is. And that's what they were doing. They were still playing guys it's more Jack than anything else, I think, because for the rest of the rotation, other than Hernan Gomez, who reportedly is getting traded, that mostly was young players playing. But, at this point now, after the trade deadline, it really should be, just seeing what you have in the young players, deciding who you're going forward with. And, now, of course, we start angling for Tankathon 2018.
I know you're not Dr. Alan Hahn, but the injury is a torn ACL from what we've heard. Are we more likely to see this closer to a 12-month recovery for somebody as big as Porzingis?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's an injury I had, actually, at the end of my college career, almost on a similar situation where somebody was kind of just got underneath me as I was landing. My foot was pointed one way, my body the other, and the knee just bent in. To me, it looked a lot worse than just simply ACL. Now, I guess we'll get further details, but he's got to still have the surgery. Carson Wentz, would they say 9 months for him as a quarterback? So if you just project 9 months, where are we looking? We're already looking at, the start of the NBA season. But with, as you said, because of how tall he is, how long his legs are, there's not a lot of muscle around that knee for stabilization. You don't want it to be a recurring thing. This is definitely something you take your time with, and it's not something that you would want to see him rush back from, that's for sure.
Alan Hahn with us right now on 104.5 The Team ESPN Radio.
And one of the reasons I asked about the timing of that is that this time next year, so we're talking February 2019, will be right around the trade deadline again, and then you wonder about Porzingis' value if all of a sudden the Knicks reevaluate what he means to this franchise.
I don't think we go there. I honestly think that he is very much part of what they're doing going forward, no matter what. He's 22. He'll be 23 next year. If you give it the 12, I'm going to say 10. I'll go 10 to be really conservative. It takes us to obviously the end of the year. It takes you into the 2019. Now, what they decide to do with him? They obviously this offseason they have the option to give him his rookie extension already, so they can lock him up if they want to. This injury now puts that kind of in the air. It's very similar to Odell and the Giants, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a very similar situation as a player who's very important to them, hasn't really helped them win yet, but you just know he's one of the better players at his position in the game. And it's very, very similar. What do the Giants do? What do the Knicks do? That kind of thing. To me, when you have a guy that you drafted, this is your homegrown guy. This is not somebody you brought in from the outside. this is, in all intents purposes, your little brother or your son, depending on what age you are as a fan. And therefore, to me, you care a lot more for him because you want to see him become, the great player in your franchise's history. So I don't think we start talking about what they should do going forward with Porzingis. To me, it's as now this franchise goes forward, I want to see, continue to advance the cause, knowing he'll be back eventually. And when he does come back, let's hope the team is better than it is right now and still on its way towards becoming that championship team we've been waiting 40 years for.
Alan Hahn with us right now. So the one question I was wondering is, he's the 4, sometimes you lean him into the 5. Does this change the way you use him? Do you make him more of a center, more of a 5?
That's a great question, and I was wondering that. What do you do with him? What position is he best at? Because he is a rim protector, and he's one of the best in the league, and yet he doesn't have the size. He doesn't like to physically bang with other big men, which is why he prefers to play the 4 against smaller players. But I actually think, if you play him at the 5 and you have to, what you do, get more of a spread-type offense going here. I really am surprised he doesn't do more screen and roll, pick and roll type of stuff. And mid-post things for him, I don't think that's best. Look, he got injured on a beautiful play, a cut, a catch, a vicious dunk, and he landed awkwardly after the dunk. I wanted to see him do more things like that. So, other people might argue, nope, you got to put him into slower things so he doesn't get hurt. I disagree. I think there's still more that you can do with him that's less wear and tear on his body. But, he does look better, as a 5-man. They've got to find him a point guard. That's what they've got to find. They've got to find him another alpha player that can handle the ball, that can run an offense, that he can work with so they can get the most out of each other. That, to me, they have to get to that point before you can think about anything else for this franchise. You've got to get him a point guard. I always go back in history because history always repeats itself. And if you don't pay attention to it, you're also doomed to repeat it. And that is Patrick Ewing, for those old enough to remember, did not have a great first 2 years. He was good. You knew he had something special, but he got injured a couple of times. There was something missing. Mark Jackson came along and unlocked a whole part of his game that no one knew existed, and then he became a beast for the next 15 years. So that's, I think, the thing here. The Knicks have to find Porzingis as Mark Jackson.
Alan Hahn with us. Just trying to read into what you're saying. Are you already giving up on Ntilikina?
Giving up? No. I just don't see where he is as an NBA player and what he can be. At 19 years old, there's just so much work that needs to be done. But he doesn't he doesn't project to be that type of a point guard. He doesn't project to be an alpha, a leader. I think he can be a very good defensive guard. I think he's got good potential in the game. But I'm talking about something completely different when I mention, Porzingis as Mark Jackson. That's got to be a special personality, not just a talent on the court, but a personality that can really, work with him and raise the team up. Ntilikina's got defensive potential. I think his offense it's got time to grow because he is only 19. But, if you're asking me, do I foresee him being the starting point guard of this team for 10 years? I don't right now. But he's still so young that I hate to say give up. It's not give up. It's just what I see, I feel like there's other areas. You still have to find that point guard.
You hinted at this earlier in the interview about Willy Hernan Gomez getting traded to Charlotte. That's the move that Knicks fans should be encouraged by, that they're already planning for the future with those future draft picks?
Well, I encourage is tough because what they're doing, they just traded a 23-year-old. So you'd think he was supposed to be part of the future, and they ended up trading him. Now, there's two ways to look at this. Number one, they had him all year, all-rookie player last year who had okay numbers, played in the Eurobasket, did well in the offseason, came in thinking he was going to be the man, and he doesn't play. He gets out by 2 veterans. And he sat the whole year, and then when it came time, basically had his agents demand a trade. Players can't control this, especially a guy like that. You don't tell the franchise, hey, play me or trade me, because that means, okay, you're putting yourself ahead of the team, you're out. Right. So that, I don't think, sat well. They got 2 seconds, I think, reportedly in the deal. So it's collecting assets, and clearly they didn't see enough out of him to think going forward, that they needed to hang on to him. But you also worry about, did they develop him properly? Did they get the most out of him? So, that's one that I don't think we're going to really have an answer on until maybe next season.
Alan Hahn with us. Is there anybody else you think is a key target to trade? Somebody that would be an easy move?
Yeah, I mean, look, now it's going to be all about what they can get for veterans, and they'll stockpile as many, future draft picks as they can and do the Danny Ainge thing where you just, put as many in your coffers as possible to use for future deals. So Kyle O'Quinn has an opt-out, and he's going to probably make a decent amount of money as a free agent after the way he played this season. So it makes sense to see them make that move. I can't see anybody taking Joakim Noah at this point, but they would love to move him, obviously. But those thinking that they might put a first-round pick into a deal for Joakim, that's not going to happen. I guess Courtney Lee is I like him too much in the locker room as a vet, but if somebody wants something for, if they want to give up something for him and it buys you some cap space for 2019, then I think maybe you do that too. I think we're just looking at veteran-type players. I just don't see them making additions to this team. I think this will be about collecting assets now.
Alan Hahn, 98.7 ESPN, man, we appreciate you. It's a crazy day, and good luck covering this crazy Knicks team.
Thanks. We're well-versed in this stuff.
Yeah, right. You're used to it by now, right?
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
Hahn.
Plenty of experience, that's for sure, boys.
Hahn, thanks so much,
See you, man.
You got it.